This video was sponsored by Brilliant. Hi, my name is Micah Caldwell, and I'm starting my own therapy private practice. So, to begin, I need to figure out how to actually start a therapy private practice, because it's not actually a real thing yet. But I did just quit my job, so... Okay, let me tell you what's going on.
You can make your own hours in private practice, right?
Right. Yeah. That's what I would like.
I feel like I'm sending you off to school.
No.
With your backpack and your coffee.
It kind of feels like school. I'm gonna go sit in a classroom probably, so. Over a year ago, I decided to dip my toes into unfamiliar territory. Allie here is giving me the ultimate push out the door to a workshop that promises to unveil the secrets of running a private practice for mental health therapists. All right, I should go.
All right.
At this point, I knew literally nothing. I mean, I didn't even know if private practice was gonna be for me. You think I'm just okay?
I think you're just great. Have fun.
And even though at this point, there was nothing to be worried about, I felt a little bit anxious. I mean, also excited, but on this cold March morning, I felt like things were about to change. And change is scary. I can't believe how much snow there is. Now, to be clear, there was no shortage of change happening in my life. I bought a house recently after moving to Chicago from San Diego. Allie was 8 months pregnant. We were literally about to have a baby, which, I knew that was about to turn my life upside down in both good and not so good ways. But I think that the idea of having a child is actually part of what pushed me down this road. And it's only become more clear as time has gone on. Now, you might not know this, but babies take a lot of time. They demand your attention, whether you like it or not. And back when Allie got pregnant, I kind of hoped that things wouldn't change in my life all that much. As selfish as that is. But things did change, and I wouldn't have it any other way now. I'm obsessed with my daughter. I just want to spend every moment that I can with her. And it's weird. I've never been more aware of time passing than I have while seeing her grow up. And I didn't know that that would be the case before I became a dad. But even at this moment in March, a month and a half before she's even born, the anticipation of change was really giving me this weird, uncomfortable feeling. And that feeling was what pushed me to this workshop. We made it. We're here. I'm at the Crown Plaza. And ready to see what this is all about. I hope this is good. I hope that I'm not wasting my time.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi. I think I should go for there's like a private practice training that's happening.
Yeah, you will go past the bar, down the hall, and then you will make a left.
Left. Awesome, thank you. For the past 4 years, I've worked at a practice where I do weekly therapy with primarily college students. And I really love it. It's been my favorite job of all time. When I started there, I was only one of 3 therapists that launched that office when it first opened. And that perfectly fit what I was looking for. I wanted a scrappy startup practice, and this one happened to also come with like an amazing boss and a decent salary and awesome coworkers and benefits. And that hasn't changed. I mean, now it's an office of 15 therapists, but it's still comfortable and stable, and I felt really invested in its growth over time, which is why I've stayed there for the last 4 years.
There's an evaluation. If you can just complete the eval at the end of day 2, you'll get your CE certificate.
Oh, great.
Okay.
And there's coffee in the room.
That was a lie. There was no coffee left. But in any case, that's besides the point. You might be wondering, why would I go to this workshop if I love my job so much? Well, remember that uncomfortable feeling that I mentioned before? That feeling was restlessness. And I think that it's been telling me that I haven't grown, at least not in the ways that I've wanted to in my work. I mean, my life is completely different from what it looked like a few years ago. And my job just hasn't kept up. It doesn't fit as well as it used to. So what's changed is me. So it's time to try something new.
Right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to go over with you is many facets of private practice, either to start or expand.
I guess for me, the biggest fear is I'm about to have my first child coming up in May. And thank you. Yeah, so it's exciting, but also obviously going into this new venture is like a pretty big jump. So it's sort of figuring out, I guess, like the stability aspect of like, okay, how do we make this something that works and works decently quickly so that it's not this slow build that, you know, ends up having consequences on the family.
Well, done with day one. We covered a lot of material, talking about different revenue streams, getting protocols in place. I hadn't really thought about, you know, what if something really bad happens to you? Like, let's say you get hit by a bus, right? You need to have a plan for essentially having someone who's in charge of your business then. But anyway, done with the day. Now I can go relax. Kind of. I actually have to go edit a video. All right. I took a lot of footage at this workshop. I'm really not all that good at vlogging, so I'll spare you all the rambling nonsense. You can see all the nearly untouched footage over on Nebula if you really want to see everything, or if you're a masochist, but we'll cut to the important stuff. All right. Day 2. I'm in this very strange, like, mostly circle table room. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know, what do you call this, right? It has like this opening right here. I'm learning a lot. It's been a bit nerve-wracking, to be honest. We've been talking a lot about legal liability, malpractice insurance, depositions, attorneys, accountants, money. There's just a lot to keep in mind, and frankly, it's all stuff that needs to get set up before you can even see someone. Because if you don't set this stuff up in advance, then you're really putting yourself in jeopardy legally or financially. And now we're starting to get into like marketing and advertising. And it's very funny because one of the things that this guy is talking about is the need to create content so that people know about you. And that's literally what I'm doing right now. Clowns everywhere, man. I'm getting pretty hungry. I'm gonna go get some food because I don't have the car, so I'm gonna have to walk somewhere. And we're in the middle of nowhere. So I'm gonna go do that, finish off this training, and then I'll give my thoughts at the end. All right, here we go. This road is not made for walking. I said that I'd only show the important stuff, and I think that the fact that this sidewalk just ends is very important.
Now what?
In any case, this place apparently has a donut fried chicken sandwich, which I've never seen outside of a state fair context. It's a permanent fixture on their menu. Troubling. It took half an hour to get a chicken sandwich. No, not the donut one. And then I sprinted back and made it just in time to finish the day.
This took a little bit longer than I expected. Here we go.
Oh yeah, I should probably explain the clowns. So next door to our workshop was a conference of the World Clown Association. That's it. That's the story. I don't know. They sure sounded like they were having a lot more fun than us. I didn't know that they had conferences, so that's cool.
Mental health is one of their biggest charities that they donate money to. And David Arquette, the actor, is also a clown.
I'd like to tell you that we spent the rest of the time talking all about clowns, but unfortunately, we just finished off our training and I left the building. But I was now in possession of all the basic information I needed to start my business.
Hey, want me to drive?
So, what do you think was the most important thing you learned this weekend?
That's interesting. The fact that I didn't feel overwhelmed by everything that we were talking about, that taught me that, like, I can definitely do this. I think I need to establish maybe some goalposts where it's like, okay, if we are at this place, you and I, then that's a good time to start. So maybe we should have a conversation about that.
It seemed like everything was coming up Millhouse. You know, in my head, I'd have the practice up and running within the next 4 to 6 months. My thought was that Allie would give birth, I would enjoy the benefit of parental leave from my job, and then I'd strike out on my own shortly after. But, all right, as you can tell by when I'm actually uploading, it's been over a year. Things didn't exactly go according to what was in my head.
It is March 16th, 2022. It's only been like 5 days since my training. Allie's been doing taxes, and it looks like we're gonna have to owe money this year. So that sucks, especially given some plumbing issues that we've been having recently. We're dropping $15K to replace some pipes so that we don't have sewage back up into our basement, and so that we can actually use our kitchen sink without it flooding. It feels like it pushes back plans. So now we're just here, about to have a new baby, and we're paying all this money. I just don't like feeling stressed about this stuff. All right. I don't have anything else interesting to say.
I just couldn't stomach the idea of starting a private practice without a substantial safety net to fall back on, you know, in case things fell to pieces. And unfortunately, my money anxiety just kept getting worse. A few weeks later, I was in a meeting about my company's retirement plan, which I'm happy to have,
But it also has me worried because I'm thinking about like, oh shoot, I need to figure out retirement too as part of private practice. And I'm not gonna get any matching unless I'm matching it myself. If I were single and didn't have any other responsibilities or whatever, this would be a breeze, I think. But that's just not the case, so.
So, why am I doing this? Why take on the extra risk and responsibility in the first place? Well, the answer is time. Let me show you what I mean. This is what my calendar looks like. On most days, I work from about 9 or 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. because I'm still working West Coast hours. So this is problem one. Starting at 4:30, my daughter gets out of daycare, and Allie is essentially solo parenting and trying to get dinner on the table so that we can eat as soon as I finish work, so that then we can get the baby down at a reasonable bedtime. And that's just kind of rushed and stressful and unfair. You know, I'd really like to be able to cook dinner sometime or have more relaxed family time in the afternoon. So that's problem one. Problem two has to do with my workload. Spending 34 out of my 40 hours a week in sessions with clients is a lot. You know, I see 6 to 7 people a day, and that's a really long time to be tuned in and fully focused. And quite frankly, there are times where I don't feel fully there, particularly if I didn't get great sleep the night before because my daughter was up screaming all night. Babies. Anyway, at the end of the day, this schedule can be exhausting, right? And I love doing therapy. I love talking with people. But when you're doing it day in and day out, it takes a lot of mental energy. You know, I can't just zone out in therapy with a client. They're really counting on me to be there for them, and I want to be able to give that. On top of that, all of these hours are totally inflexible. You know, when I'm in session, I can't multitask. I can't listen to music or answer a phone call or see who's at the front door. I get 5 minutes between sessions, if I'm lucky. And I use that to use the bathroom or grab a snack or get some water. Though if I'm being honest, usually I'm running behind, and so I'll usually go straight from one session to the next and have back-to-back-to-back sessions the whole day. On top of that, I spend about half of my lunch hour writing notes from the morning, and then the last hour ends up being spent finishing up notes and catching up on any other administrative work that I need to do. I do that to stay consistent and on top of my work, but I'd be lying if I said that it was the best for my mental health or the mental health of any therapist. So I think that in order for me to be the best therapist that I can be for the people that I'm seeing, I need to see fewer clients. So that's the allure of private practice. I can set my own schedule to match my life, be a better therapist, and if I do things right, make about the same amount of money while working fewer hours. Because I'm not trying to hustle and grind. I'm not trying to grow my business to make it as big as possible or make as much money as I can. I know that that's a goal for a lot of business owners, especially folks that you see on YouTube, but all I want is more time. Time to work on projects, time for this channel, time for friends and family, and for my little baby. Time has felt like sand slipping through my fingers for a long time now, it seems like. So that's why my goal is actually to keep things as small as possible and, in essence, work as little as possible. I just want to have like what you describe as a lifestyle business while my daughter is still young so that I can be the kind of dad that she deserves. But it turns out that when you feel like you have no time, it's hard to find time to start a business. And so I did hardly anything for 8 months. I'm feeling kind of stressed out because, as per usual, as was the case last year, I just have too much to do. I'm editing videos for our channel. I've got my full-time job still, and on top of that, trying to take care of a baby and raise a child in the best way that I can. And so what that leaves me with is a couple of hours in the afternoon, and by the time I get there, all I want to do is relax and kick up my feet and not do anything. And it's frustrating because I know that I need to use that time better, but it's so hard to fight against that procrastination tendency and to get myself to do more work when I'm already feeling kind of exhausted from the day. So something's got to give. Either I have to manage my time better and be able to do this work during the few hours that I have, or I need to make a life change, and maybe even do something drastic. So I did do something drastic, at least drastic for me. I mean, ideally, I could have quit my job and used that time to launch as quickly as possible, but I didn't have a nice money pile to sit on. So I did the next best thing, which is I stopped working on Fridays and I hired an editor. Raghav, say hi to the folks out there. Raghav is an awesome editor and a great guy. You should give him some love in the comments by spamming "I love Raghav." It wasn't easy. I mean, I'm sort of a control freak and I love editing, so it was hard to give that up. And dropping my hours meant making less money. But it gave me time. And with that time, I was finally able to make some forward momentum. I got a phone number, a business address, and I could finally dive into figuring out this whole business thing. It's 9 o'clock at night, dark outside. The reason that it's light in here, I got a freaking light lighting me up, okay? I need to make an LLC checklist. Make sure the application bears the same name that appears on the Articles of Organization. What? Articles of Organization? What is that? If the company is using more than one DBA, I'll need to figure out what that means. Date, birth, address, don't buy anthrax. Tax information, including your federal tax identification number. So I'll probably need that.
Okay, maybe this is where I want to go. New applications, online renewal instructions, register. I don't know what my feign is. Do I need a feign? I think I can just use my social security number. I feel like there was a reason that I shouldn't do that though. I feel like that was something that came up during my training. Let's pull that out. Don't do it. If you bill insurance, your social security number will be on all bills and eventually sent to your client on the explanation of benefits. Do you really want your social security number being seen by potentially millions of people? So it looks like I will want an employer ID number. So let's do that. Apply online now. Okay, well that's fun. I don't think I've ever seen that. This website has hours of operation. You can't use this website unless it's during their hours. Barely missed it. It's 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what to do about that. So one thing that I'm seeing in my notes, and this is probably good advice, is to get an accountant.
It was exasperating to run into roadblocks, but at least it gave me a clearer picture of what I needed to do next. So I set up an appointment with someone who knows a whole lot more than I do. A CPA, which is a certified public accountant. I've never met with a CPA before. I don't know what to expect from this. I guess we'll find out. All right, let's go. I was kind of worried that a CPA would be like a stern math nerd who's replaced all human connection with spreadsheets or something. But I was so pleased to talk with Anna, who's a local CPA, and who gave me an enthusiastic yes to me recording our conversation, even though I didn't ask her until I arrived. So, Anna, you're pretty cool.
Audio.
You don't want to do silent film? You can like put like a piano and then like put the little words on a card.
All right. Thanks for meeting with me.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to learn a lot because there's a lot that I don't know, and also things that I don't know that I don't know. So.
Right. Once you form your LLC, then you can get a tax ID number from the IRS. Then you can take that to the bank and open up a company bank account. You need to do something to kind of have books, quote unquote.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Depending on how much you've going on, what you do for bookkeeping can vary. If you get to a point where you want to have me look at how your bookkeeping is organized, we can, meet and go through some of that. It depends on your needs. Presuming you're making money at the business,
Yeah.
you have to pay some taxes on that.
Right.
So you should be mindful of making estimated tax payments.
And would that be quarterly? Or
They are quarterly. It's not just income tax that you're paying those quarterly payments on. It's also self-employment tax.
The only other questions that I had were kind of broad ones, which is, are there any tips or suggestions for how to set up my business to have the best start?
The one thing is to just have that discipline to be serious about it, which, maybe a therapist would tell you that. From the tax and accounting side of it, the most important thing is keep records.
Great, well thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time and just walking me through everything. It's helpful to get insight into the things that I don't know about. So
This is what a smart person does when they're embarking on something new.
I'll be in touch, I guess, and
All right.
let you know about next steps. And
Even though this conversation brought up a lot more questions and considerations, I still felt pretty excited coming out of this. Accountant secured.
let me turn this off.
But, just like after my training, I stalled out again.
It is 2 days after my birthday. This week has been a week of reflection for me. I've been thinking a lot. One of my friends, very kind, was not trying to stress me out or anything, but just brought up like, oh, when's your last day of work? And I was like, oh, it'll depend. I have to get paneled with insurance companies first and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, okay, gotcha. But you've already got like your website and your LLC and all that stuff set up. And I had to be like, no, I don't. And it just, I've been dragging my feet for like the last 2 months,
haven't done anything, and I really need to kick things into gear if I'm going to actually make this happen. I'm worried about this just dragging on and on forever. This isn't the first time that I haven't followed through on grand plans. At various points in my life, I've come up with a lot of impressive sounding ideas, like going to medical school, or developing an online lecture series, or becoming a politician. I have so many projects that I've started and didn't see through to completion. This Nintendo coffee table, this cat painting, these screenplays, this hole on my kitchen ceiling. I've got thousands of comics that I've meant to sell for the last 5 years. I convinced a friend who's an author to write a short horror film that I never made. I worked with an engineering friend to develop an archive box for cartridge video games to protect them from electromagnetic radiation that causes bit rot. It's just a bunch of action faking. I start the first few steps that feel like I'm being productive so that I can get that dopamine hit, but I don't get to the end, the hard part that requires full commitment. I got really worried that my private practice was going to meet that same fate. So I finally had a talk with Allie.
Interview style.
Yes. Let's make it as contrived as possible.
Cool.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm on Joe Rogan.
I know, exactly. Thank you for having this conversation with me. I generally wanted to just talk about private practice, but also I wanted to just ask you some questions that, don't worry, it's nothing bad. First off, is this a good idea?
It's not a bad idea. There's always risks and rewards with a decision like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, clearly therapy is a very needed thing in this country right now. I don't think you'll have any shortage of clients. I'm not concerned about you finding business. So I think the harder thing has been like a lack of a clear timeline, because it's always just kind of, it's very nebulous, like when it's all going to happen.
Part of what's made things nebulous is just that there are certain dominoes that need to fall and they haven't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
But they are going to happen. What do you want things to look like? You know, the balance and also like my work schedule and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, in an ideal world, you would be my house husband and our daughter would go to daycare and you would take care of our household all day.
Yeah.
In an ideal world. You know, it'd be nice if you cooked dinner a couple times a week.
Right.
It'd be nice if, you know, if I'm going through a busy time at work, that I'm not stressing about needing to get out the door exactly on time to pick up the baby.
Right.
And, you know, that kind of stuff is the bigger issue for me, is just you working hopefully overall fewer hours, or like at least better dispersed hours for our lifestyle. The biggest upside is that you make your own schedule, right? You're not beholden to anyone except for yourself.
True.
I think it also is an opportunity for you to really expand your skills in a lot of ways. You know, you would not just be a therapist, but you'd also be a business owner. I think that's really exciting. The risks are that, you know, you're not beholden to anyone.
Right.
And it becomes very easy, you know, unless you're like tracking your expenses, it would become very easy to just not be showing up in the same way, you know, to not be seeing enough clients, to not be keeping up with your income, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but like we have not gone through a budget with your income decreasing. So it's something we need to consider.
How can we stay connected and communicate just so that we're on the same page and, you know, so that our relationship is strong?
I mean, our life has been a series of new adventures for like the last 3-4 years. So this honestly feels like kind of like the smallest change, you know?
What questions do you have, or advice?
Advice? Well, I've never started a business and I'm not a therapist, so I don't know that I can do that. You're good at your job. And the job, like you starting a private practice, is not going to change the contents of your job very much.
Right.
Like I'm not worried about that. So I think that you are going to be fine. You know, I'm not worried about it, like really at all. I want you to be as ambitious about this as feels good for you, because maybe this is like a little bit blunt or overly honest of me, but like I definitely have the larger career growth potential, right? You know, especially with you transitioning into private practice. And that's just like a limitation of the system, right? Like insurance is only going to pay so much per session. I want you to have more flexibility and more time, and to feel like you have more ownership over both of those. because I think that will, selfishly, that will help me. That'll improve my quality of life.
Right.
And it'll also give us more time as a family.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're making good progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, now that spring is here, I just am really eager for it to happen because I want us to have our nights together. I want us to be able to walk together to pick up our kid and spend time on the playground and that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's another question. This is sort of a logistical question, which is like,
when do you file your notice?
Yeah.
If you're able to get the stuff filed by the end of this month, I don't think it's unreasonable for you to file your notice and plan to end at the end of June.
Yeah.
If that means you have a month unemployed, I think we can manage that.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I think, we definitely can manage that.
Yeah.
It'll feel like a little pinch, but we can definitely get through that.
Right.
I also think it is smart to give yourself a hard deadline.
Yeah.
Because I think it's also easy to be like, well,
just put it on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Okay. Well, then that's what we're going to do.
All right.
End of June.
End of June.
Sounds good.
Great.
Awesome.
Break.
No turning back now. Having that deadline has made all the difference. I hired an online lawyer to complete all the business paperwork. That's done. I submitted to be an in-network provider at several insurance companies. Finished. And just at the beginning of this month, I told my boss that I'm leaving. All right, well, this is just the worst. I hate just waiting, but it'll be over soon, and then we'll be really on our way. I hope it goes well. Okay, here we go. So I guess I wanted to meet with you today because just to kind of cut to the chase, I have decided to resign. This is really happening. My last day of work is tomorrow, but I have no idea what's going to happen next. What I do know is that I've just left my comfortable job for this uncertain venture. Our savings will only last us a few months if I don't make any money. I have a daughter who's counting on me and who I need to support. And I really, really hope that this works out. So, this could be a wonderful success, or it could be a horrible failure. But either way, we'll see it through together. That's because I'm planning on giving updates as I go. I'm not really sure how often or when, but I am hoping to show everything, or as much as I can, both the good and the bad, the ups and the downs. So now might be a good time to subscribe. I decided to film this process as a promise to myself, because I wanted to show myself that I'm serious and that I can do this. So no more action faking. At this point, I'm too far in, right? I don't want to embarrass myself in front of everybody, but there is still a lot of work to do. I don't start seeing clients for about a month, but in the meantime, I still need an online presence, a bank account, accounting software, a work computer, business cards. Oh yeah, and a name for my business. That's because when I filled out the paperwork for my business, I just put Micah Caldwell Therapy PLLC as a placeholder, but it's boring and obvious and not really my jam. So leave your comments down below with your suggestions and ideas, and I'll end up selecting the one that I like best during my next live stream. I'd love to say that I just picked the one that has the most likes, but I know that it'll end up being like Poopy Scoop Therapy or whatever, and I don't really want that to be my legacy. Sorry. One of the things that makes me feel more comfortable about making this transition is the fact that I do get some money from YouTube. So you watching this video right now is literally supporting me. But honestly, this wouldn't be nearly as possible without the sponsorships that we get on our videos. And in particular, the sponsor of this video, Brilliantorg, has been our biggest sponsor of all time. And not only that, they've also been awesome on like a personal level. So I'll give you an example. I'm not sure if I'm able to share this or not, but after our daughter was born, Brilliant was the sponsor of our next video. But even though we had taken a break on uploads, we were still feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed when that video was coming up. And so we decided to cancel it, which essentially broke our contract with Brilliant. But when we told them why and said that we wanted to do this, not only were they totally chill, but they also sent us a gift for our baby to congratulate us on being new parents. So if you're watching right now, I'd love it if you stick around to hear about Brilliant because they really have been so supportive. If you're not familiar with Brilliant.org, well then you should be, because it is the best way to learn all sorts of STEM topics, from math to computer science to scientific fundamentals. For example, if you've ever wanted to learn about neural networks and AI, or if you're the kind of person who enjoys math puzzles, then Brilliant is the place for you. They've got thousands of interactive lessons, and they make learning fun. For me personally, I've had to brush up on my algebra and data analysis skills as I've been crunching numbers for the private practice. And Brilliant has a plethora of courses that make it really easy to relearn or learn for the first time. So, if you'd like to try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, then visit brilliant.org/neurotransmissions, or you can click on the link in the description, and the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Don't wait, get it now, you won't regret it. Thanks, y'all. If you've ever opened a business, I would love to hear any advice that you can give me. Just put it down in the comments because I can use as much as I can get. And hey, if you live in Illinois or California and you're looking for a therapist, check out my website. I've got my calendar on there with all my openings. It's all virtual sessions, so maybe we can work together. Anyway, thank you so much for coming with me on this adventure. I honestly have no idea if this is even interesting to anyone, but it feels like something that I've been wanting to get off my chest for a while. So stay tuned for updates, and until next time, I'm Micah. Think about it. So it begins. Yeah.